Welcome to the Joy of the Hang.
Welcome back to Joy of the Hang. We're Sharon and
Boots,
also known as Lauren.
That's right.
Good to have you back, Lauren. You just got back from your trip in Vegas.
I know. Renewed the vows, just like totally crushed it with my outfit and my hat. I knew I wanted to wear something on my head and tried the veil thing, but the veil just made me feel like I was, doing the bachelorette party or being young again.
Right.
So when I went to Giggles and saw this big, like, conductor hat with all of these crystals all over it that said bride, I was like, oh my God, this is me.
And we talked about Giggles on one of our previous episodes, but for those that may not have listened to it, it is a shop. It's in town that's like an adult toy shop.
In Sarasota, and it's great because it has everything. I mean, you could go there and get, just a funny birthday card. You can go there and get, videos. You could go there and, if you're a stripper, you could go buy apparel. They have, pretty, dare I say, simple or innocuous bustiers that, barely show any cleavage that you could buy there. It's just a cool store.
Right, exactly. And great sex toys, which we'll talk about on a future episode.
We'll talk about that on a future episode. But I do have to say, Sharon, everybody comes back from Vegas with a story. Lots of times they have the whole spiel. We've all heard what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But this is a story I can tell you. It was so funny that we were watching football on Sunday, and, we'd had a long Saturday. It was the day we renewed our vows. We didn't even get back to the room till like 3:30 in the morning. So when we get to this bar to watch football at like 11:30 on Sunday to watch the Eagles play, Gabby decided that he needed to go get coffee. So I said, no problem. I was up early, had already gotten coffee. So he goes to get coffee, and when he comes back, boy, did he have a story for me. He said he's in line to get a coffee, and this attractive woman in front of him, sort of dressed in more work type of apparel, said to him, oh, hey, what do you want? I'll get your drink. And Gabby literally said, what? Like, okay, wow, you're going to buy me my drink? And she said, yeah, sure, what do you want? And he said, okay, I would love, a latte with, 1 sugar in it. So she orders her drink, something to eat, orders Gabby's drink, and the person making them said, okay, ma'am or miss, that'll be $27. And she said, oh, wow, $27. I don't have it. And she actually turned around and looked at Gabby and said, hey, do you have money? Do you want to buy it? And Gabby said, no, I am not buying you your drink. I thought you wanted to buy me a coffee. Absolutely not. I'm not buying you your drink.
Right. And
she sort of paused and said, how about a $20 blowjob?
Wow.
And when Gabby told me the story, I was like, $20? Like $20. Like where is she? I need to go have a conversation with her. And
she's giving it away too cheap.
$20.
Right?
I mean, that's just
holy moly.
Ridiculous. And then even funnier.
I tried at least 100.
Right? Yeah.
Minimum.
Oh, it costs them. They'll all admit. Our husbands will admit it costs them.
It costs them.
But then even funnier, when my girlfriend and husband got to the bar, I told them the story and told my girlfriend Zeppi about the $20. And she was like, oh my God, where is she? I'm going to go find her. I'll pay her $20. Then I don't have to give Mark a blowjob tonight.
That's smart thinking right there.
Right? I mean, the blowjob is a very interesting animal in that we just were having a conversation.
Yeah, this is good.
About blowjobs, and we were talking with our friend Booker, who you guys will hear on one of our episodes, and it was great to get a man's perspective, what have you. And after we finished talking to Booker and we were no longer on air, our cameraman...
This is the best.
actually came up to Sharon and me and said, hey, I have to tell you guys, I love my wife. I've been married just about 26 years, but I can count on one hand. And in case there's any confusion, he does have five fingers. just like
everyone.
Just like everyone on his hand. He has 5 fingers, not 500.
And again, 26 years.
26 years, and said he could count on one hand.
Yes.
And then didn't want to divulge too much information, but quickly said, and it's not as though she's hurting at all. Like I, do my part.
Exactly.
And I thought,
it's a one-way street on their relationship.
A one-way street. How sad is that?
We all were a bit shocked to hear that.
Yeah, I was totally shocked. I feel bad.
Yeah.
I think we are going to continue to talk about this. I think sex, everything we do involving sex, oral sex, regular sex, cowboy sex, flying monkey, whatever you're into, it shouldn't be taboo, and you should be able to talk to your partner about it, and you should want to make your partner happy.
100%. And I think, we talked a lot about how it shouldn't be taboo. People have been having sex since the dawn of time, so there's no reason why, as adults, we shouldn't have open and honest conversations about it. And, fellatio, blowjobs, whatever you want to call it, it is an important part of a relationship, right?
Yep.
But still, there are a lot of women that either don't enjoy it for whatever reason, and I would think most men really enjoy it.
Really enjoy it.
Yeah, I would think that that's probably fairly universal, that's an important thing for them.
It is. I was pleasantly surprised because I asked Booker off air about hand jobs, and I said, the problem to me with a hand job is that I do avoid at all costs, pretty much, because I just feel like, these guys have been giving themselves hand jobs since they were, I want to say 13, but I
probably
guess
even earlier. Once
it
they
could be earlier.
They had a penis.
Who knows? It could be 9 or 10. I don't even.
They realize it feels good.
I don't necessarily want to think about that. Having, 3 kids, but it's. So I asked him about the hand job, and he actually said that he prefers a blowjob. Like, he doesn't ever go out of his way to, in any way, shape, or form, to get a hand job. So that actually made me pretty happy, because I do not feel that is one of my strengths.
So one of the things that we talked about when we talked about giving a blowjob, and this came up the other night with our girlfriends, is do you swallow or not swallow, right? That's another big thing. Like, and we asked Booker, is the sensation better for you if a woman swallows? And he said, in fact, it was, because of the nerve endings on the end of the penis.
He said, hands down.
And he said, you don't have to swallow, but at least keep your mouth on the tip of the penis while he's having an orgasm.
Absolutely.
Right?
So I guess then it comes down to, Sharon, why are you doing it? What's the reasoning? What's the result you're going for? If you're truly doing it, which you should be, to make your partner happy and to pleasure your partner, because that's something you should enjoy doing, then why would you not want to be the best at it? Do you want to cook dinner and have it be half-ass, have like half of it be raw, or have it be over-salted or not salted enough? No, you want to cook dinner and have it be good.
Right, I agree. But if some women are uncomfortable with swallowing, I don't think that's a big deal. I don't think she should be in a...
No, they'd rather have the blowjob and have you not swallow than not get a blowjob.
Correct. Like, I think if they're coming and they let you know, and I'm going to read you something here in a minute, but if they're coming and want to let you know that they're about to come, and you're able to prepare yourself, and either they can come on your body or you can just spit it out, or whatever feels comfortable for you. Like, it has to be mutual, I feel like, right? Both people have to enjoy it.
Yes, totally true.
Yeah. So to that note, I want to quote something from the late and great Dr. Ruth Westheimer, who Lauren and I both grew up listening to.
Dr. Ruth.
Dr.
Come on, we all love Dr. Ruth. And for you young ones out there, Google her, see everything you can that she did, read everything she wrote, because she will make you better informed, and she will just make you all around better at sex.
She normalized sex in a time, I think, when maybe it was taboo. She lived to be 96 years old, and she was a very well-known sex counselor. She was all of maybe 4 foot, 10.
She was not 5 feet.
Small Jewish lady who survived the Holocaust.
Yep.
And later on in life became a sex therapist, sex counselor, and had this very distinguished voice. You could always recognize if Dr. Ruth was on the radio. And she just gave you straight talk about things people were afraid to talk about, right? And we're going to do the same.
We're going to do the same.
So to quote from her book, I love the name of it, Sex for Dummies, about to swallow or not to swallow. It says some women are concerned about getting the ejaculate in their mouth. Now, a few drops of Cowper's fluid will be secreted at the head of the erect male penis, but most women worry about the actual quantity of ejaculate that is propelled from the penis upon orgasm. Nothing in a man's ejaculate is harmful, and to anyone who complains about the calories, I say enough. Isn't there protein in ejaculate? It's good for you, right? I would think.
Well, the reality is, I don't think any woman ever used the excuse of the calories.
No,
it was probably more maybe the quantity or the consistency or the taste, for sure.
But she goes on to say, if you really want to avoid coming in contact with ejaculate, try the following. Number 1, ask your partner to let you know when he is close to having his orgasm. That's the best way to avoid the ejaculate. Watch for the signs of impending orgasm. A man's erection strengthens when he is near orgasm, and his scrotum will tighten up, pushing his testicles up against his body. When you notice this, duck out of the way. Number 3, keep a towel or a tissue close by. If your partner does ejaculate into your mouth, you can easily spit it out without swallowing it.
Or a sock. I guess you could use a sock.
I could use a sock, his underwear, your T-shirt, your underwear. You could use just about anything, right?
I think you could use just about anything.
Yeah.
That is true.
So many people also ask whether they can do anything to change the taste of their partner's semen. Although anecdotal evidence indicates that what you eat, and I've heard eating pineapple actually.
I think we've all heard that.
Have you heard that?
Yep, totally.
It says, I haven't seen any scientific research that proves that, according to Dr. Ruth.
Interesting. I would have gone on the record saying I thought that did, in fact, impact.
We're going to have to test that theory
flavor.
out. We're going to have to give our husbands lots of
I think
pineapple.
our husbands would be very happy to test out any
Let's do an experiment.
Any experiment
that's going to lead to a blowjob?
It leads to a blowjob, yes. I think that would be yes, please, before the questions even finish being asked.
Which is what Dr. Ruth says. She says, on the other hand, nothing is stopping you from doing your own research. Not only might it be educational, but it could also be a lot of fun, especially for our partners. If a partner really objects to the taste but wants to proceed, I suggest having a breath mint handy. I'm sorry. So she can quickly change the taste in her mouth. And finally, the porn industry has introduced a new facet to oral sex, the facial, where the man ejaculates onto his partner's face. In my opinion, this is humiliating and not sexy. What's your opinion on the facial?
I guess I'm pretty quick if someone's just asking me my opinion on that to say, I personally don't like it. But certainly to sit here and suggest in any way that because somebody else likes it, that it's weird or strange or not okay would be, counter to what I profess to believe in, that everybody should do, and behave in a way that works best for themselves and be the true version of themselves. So while I certainly would not want it in my face and happen to be someone who swallows, I will fully admit, if someone told me that having semen on your face did something impressive for your skin or made me look
gets
younger,
rid of age spots.
I swear to God,
bring it on.
I would
100%.
100%. I wouldn't even have to think twice about it.
Yeah, right. I would agree with that. So anyway, that's Dr. Ruth and her opinion on swallowing or not swallowing. So there's a lot to unpack there, I think.
So Sharon, you know what I didn't do today when I came here?
What?
I didn't park in front of your neighbor's
I
mailbox.
was so afraid. I was like, where are we going? I never know where we're going.
I made the mistake when I came here like 2 weeks ago of parking across the street in front of the neighbor's mailbox. I was in no way encroaching on their property line. I was not anywhere near their driveway. But they happen to have a mailbox that is sort of in the grass, sort of on the side of the street where a normal human being would park. And apparently I parked in front of their mailbox, and boy, did your neighbor have a problem.
I guess they get some really important mail.
You know what? It must be that. I've lived in a lot of places. I'm very chatty. I talk to all of my mail carriers. I cannot imagine that there's a mail carrier out there that would care if, on a random Monday or Tuesday, there was a car parked where they had to sort of go around the car to step on the grass to stick the envelope in the box.
I know. I don't know what to say. He's got to stick up his ass.
Yeah, it makes you a little curious what you have going on in your life if you need to freak out and come running over to the neighbors to tell them or ask them if they happen to know the car that's parked in front of their mailbox.
I know. Well, we just won't park there anymore.
No, I am now parked in...
You can park in the driveway.
I'm parked in your driveway.
Yes.
And I feel much safer.
She's being a good girl.
I feel much safer being parked in your driveway. I am no longer concerned that you're going to have, a fight with one of your neighbors.
Actually, you know what? I'm surprised because you are a rebel. So I'm surprised you didn't just give him a big fuck you and just keep parking there every week.
I am. I've been known to poke the bear.
You do poke
as I like to say, which... living in Florida, to be honest, you have to be careful about that. I mean, there are a lot of gun carriers in this state, so you don't know if, you have an issue with a car that cuts you off, or the other day I yelled at a car that came speeding through the walkway when I was walking through the walkway, which I think I have a right to have that make me angry. But I screamed at the person, and I think I yelled a profanity. And, my husband said, "What are you doing? Are you crazy? That person could have a gun. They could turn back around and get out of the car." And he's actually absolutely right.
Yeah, I think road rage was invented in Florida.
I don't know. It might be. Now I'm going to have to Google it.
Where it
I
came
wonder
from.
if there is actually a state. But
I
don't know. Maybe I'm really wrong on the gun thing, too. I did not look it up ahead of time. I just thought that Florida happened to be a state, but maybe Texas has more gun carriers than Florida. I mean, if you think how big Texas is.
Yeah, probably.
But certainly a lot of people here are carriers of concealed weapons. They have licenses. It's totally legit. I have nothing against that, but you certainly don't want to get in an argument with someone who is carrying a gun and is quick to use it.
Yeah, I feel like we have so much to talk about since our last meeting. I think since the last time we were together, the election happened, and not the election, but Donald Trump is now the new president, and it was a peaceful transition, which was great to see. So it'll be interesting to see what the next 4 years brings. We won't talk about politics, but it'll be interesting to see.
I think we all want the same thing, and we'll leave it at that. We all want to just have... a prosperous,
peaceful
4 years. So that's what we should all hope for and do anything, I guess, we can. I don't know what that is, but that would be in our power to help that happen.
Yeah, at this point, it's kind of in the government's hands. But anyway, last weekend we went to a wine event here in Sarasota called Corks and Forks, which was a lot of fun.
They do such a good job. It is not inexpensive.
Yeah.
General admission is $250 a ticket. it does go to the arts for charity. The venue is absolutely stunningly beautiful in a courtyard at the Ringling Museum. You have, what is it, Sharon, over like 100 wineries,
There's
80
a
wineries
lot of wine
that come.
vendors. A lot of wine vendors.
A lot of wine vendors come. A lot of the local restaurants come to show what they can do. And I mean, it is just fun walking around, tasting all the different wines. They also have this year there were some tequila brands there. There was like a spiked lemonade that was there. And I personally have fun knobbing it up. I like to grab my wine glass that I have, swirl it around, sniff, act as though I know something, which I don't know anything. I mean, I know.
Well, you know what you like.
I know what I like. Yeah. I like white wine, not red. I like very dry. I don't like anything sweet. I mean, I do not eat any fruit. I don't like tasting anything that tastes like fruit. I don't like sipping anything that tastes like fruit. So I certainly know what I like, but it's just fun. People are dressed up. They're in a really good mood. Yeah. The weather was perfect. It's sort of like somewhat, I feel like, the who's who in the area, but it's got all ages. I mean, you have high 20s, 30s, 40s, all the way up to, 70s, 80s.
Yeah, it's the first time I'd gone to that event. It was really, really fun. Really nice. And we got lucky. The weather was so nice, too. But
yeah, because it's been cold in Florida, and it's been so bad, in fact, that when my husband and I just got together with a group on this past Friday, he actually sat down at the table when we were all eating and said, okay, let's all have an agreement. We're not going to talk about the weather. Because Florida people are so used to having good weather. I mean, it does get really hot in the summer.
Spoiled.
Spoiled, I guess.
Yeah.
It was so cold. And I swear to God, all anybody would talk about was the weather.
Yeah. Because it was dreary, too. It wasn't just cold. It was, the sun wasn't out. And true Floridians, they're not used to that. And it was cold for a long time.
It was, but you can look at London. London is, that's such a bougie comment, I guess. But I love London. Davis Rowe, who's doing a semester abroad, is in London and actually said she's doing her abroad in Barcelona, but they give the kids off every Friday so that they can travel around for the weekends. And she said, okay, London's the jam. London's it. I want to move to London after college. I love it there, even though it can be cloudy, cool, wet, rainy. London is so fun. You see, it is extremely diverse. The street style is sick. The fashion's great. The food's great. You can go get the best, French fries in the world at some little random place, or you can go to some, high-end restaurant. London is just awesome.
Oh, I've never been to London.
Yeah, you need to definitely put it on your list.
I've not been.
The people are great. It's completely walkable. And like I said, you can, scrounge around if you wanted to go and didn't want to spend a lot of money. You could stay in a hostel and you can go to the tiny little, pubs and get a beer and a really hot thing of French fries, and you'll be more than happy.
I meant to ask you, it's almost the end of January, but do you make New Year's resolutions?
I don't. And I think that goes to sort of, I would compare it to being physically fit. That sometimes when women see me and I'm 53, I've had 3 kids, and, I'm fairly in shape, I would say that I never made it about fitting into a dress or going to a reunion. My grandparents are Austrian, and it was sort of the same way you brush your teeth every day, you do something active every day. It's just part of your life. What I do, though, is try just every couple of months, maybe yearly, if too many months go by, and try and just better myself, Sharon. Like, I think as you get older, the truest statement is the older you get, the faster time goes. And I think, you want to do things better, not make the same mistakes. You want to be a better wife, a better friend, a better parent. And so I think you try and figure out things that you can do that make you better. I would say that the reason I quickly said no to the New Year's resolution is because I think so many people, the majority of the people, I'm kind of curious what the actual percent of people is. If you wanted to get really analytical, I bet you it's an extremely high percent of people that make a New Year's resolution and then they fail.
Yeah, it sets you up for failure.
Yeah,
I agree.
Set up for failure.
Yeah, I know. I'm more into goal setting, and even with this podcast, like you and I meeting ahead of time and creating our vision board and trying to manifest, what is now, our podcast, right?
Yeah.
And so we've made this happen.
We made it happen.
We made it happen just one step at a time. And so, yeah, it's more about setting a goal and figuring out how to achieve the goal. And then thinking about, you do have to think about, and we've talked about this a little bit, like what's going to keep you there. It's great to get it started, but what's going to get us to where we want to be, which is, in the top 1% of podcasters, right? At some point, wouldn't that be great?
Of course.
I mean, why not, right? Let's reach for the moon. So,
what would ever be the point of starting out something? I mean, I can't imagine training for a marathon and saying, okay, my goal is to be last.
Well, because I said that because a couple of girlfriends, and it's hurt my heart a little bit, have said to me, you're really good at starting things. And of course, I take that as, so what they're saying is I'm not good at following through. I'm not good at
that's
finishing.
kind of one of those backhanded compliments.
Right? You're really good at starting new things. And I'm just like, there's two people that have made that comment. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. And then another girlfriend of mine said to me, which I really appreciated, she said, she stood up for me because she always has my back. I love her dearly. And she said, I said when they said that to me about you, that it's a stepping stone for her. Like she's trying all these different things as stepping stones to get her where she wants to be ultimately. And to do that, she has to grow through these other experiences.
Yeah, I mean, think how many kids change their major in college.
Yeah.
Does that make you a loser or, bad because when you come into college, when you're, 17 or 18 and you choose a major and then you realize maybe it's not right for you? I mean, people are allowed to change direction, alter their course. I mean, that's kind of what life is all about.
I just think, too, it makes you a more interesting person because I have a lot of things that excite me. There's a lot of things that I'm like, okay, I want to learn about that, and I want to learn about that. I mean, I majored in journalism in college because I just wanted to know everything about everything. That was it's fascinating to me. When I was in college, I had an assignment where I had to interview somebody for broadcasting, and it was back when AIDS was a big topic in the 1980s, and I interviewed an AIDS patient who was on his deathbed, and he was going to die. There was no cure at the time. And I sat with him, held his hand, and talked through the interview, and it was incredible. I mean, it was incredibly moving for me. It was incredibly powerful for him to share his story. And when I turned it into my professor, he was like, you know what? He goes, that was one of the best interviews I've heard because and that's what I want to do with this podcast is like really find out about people's stories because everybody has one and it's so important for them to share it.
Everybody has a story. Everybody has something important to say. And I think that we will be a much better world when everyone realizes that. And I think you might think you know what someone's story is, but I mean, it's like, we have a friend whose wife has a terminal illness and he's very outgoing and spunky and likes to be the life of the party. And I think people would witness him in a moment and no one would have any idea of what he's dealing with or what he's going through. And I just think in life, everyone, has a story and should feel that their story is important and, feel confident enough to share it.
Yeah, 100%. And to that point, I mean, Lauren and I are going to talk about issues about sex. We're going to talk about relationships, and we're going to be real about it because it's so important that people don't shy away from topics that everybody shares. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're in the LGBTQ community or if you're husband and wife or if you're out in the dating scene. We're all having sex. We're all doing these things. So let's just normalize it. Let's make it okay to talk about. And it doesn't have to be some big joke. Like the fact that we say the word blowjob on our podcast, everybody uses that term, right? It's not.
Everybody uses that term, and I believe.
I don't want people to think that.
I was about to say everyone's doing it, but
not everybody. Apparently not our.
Apparently, our cameraman's wife
yeah.
is not doing it.
Not as often as you would
I'm
like.
not going to suggest that everyone's doing it.
No.
But I agree with you that a little side note, Sharon. Did you hear, like I did when I moved here, that they called Sarasota Sharasota?
I did. Yes. Do you know why they call it Sarasota?
Well, because they said that there were a lot of people that are swingers. That's why they do a New Year's Eve downtown Sarasota where we live, and it's a pineapple. And for anyone out there that doesn't know, they say the pineapple is a symbol of people that swing, right. So that if you wanted to leave, a pineapple mat outside your house, people would know, or you could wear a pineapple on your shirt or pineapple earrings. And, we lived in Manhattan Beach, California for 13 years, and people used to say the same thing about Manhattan Beach. And I do have to say, and maybe this makes me seem overly confident or to have too big an impression of myself and my husband, but my husband and I said about Manhattan Beach, we call bullshit, and we call bullshit about Sarasota because we look at the two of us and we're like, if we're out, we're a definite win-win, Sharon.
Yes.
Like if we were as a couple, if we were swingers, that's a win-win. So I don't buy that there's all this swinging going on, because if we're a win-win, why is nobody walking up to us trying to get a piece of that?
Oh wait, people are walking up to me all the time. They're not walking up to you?
No.
Wait a minute.
Am I sending out a vibe that says that I'm not?
They can tell you're not wearing a pineapple.
What do you think? To be serious, do you think people send out a vibe?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do. 100%. Yeah.
I think you do, because
I think you do.
I would go out with my girlfriends that are married as well, and we'd have a girls' night out, and I will talk to anybody seated next to me at the bar. I don't care if you're 20, you're 80, man, woman, I am talking to you. And I like to have conversations with people. I love to meet people. I love to hear their story. And a girlfriend of mine would go out and talk to people, and, people would tell her she was crossing the line. And she would say to me, I don't get it. It's such, bullshit. It's not fair. You talk to everybody and no one says anything to you. They don't say you're flirting or you're being inappropriate. And I said, there is a very clear difference. I said, no one I'm talking to at the bar, it goes into my body language, how I'm sort of not facing them, I'm not touching them. We can talk about the 3-touch rule in a second. I'm not touching them. And so they don't think that they have a shot of leaving the bar with me. And when you talk to people, you touch their arm a couple of times, you sort of lean in, and I think they actually think they have a shot of leaving the bar with you. So it's different.
Well, I was actually joking. I don't really get hit on, but yes.
Not you. I'm talking about my friend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, there are definitely, signals that, and that's why sometimes I'll get threatened by other women, because I'll see them having those signals with my husband, right? And it's like, wait a minute.
Have you seen them touch him 3 times? Because my husband and I are both huge believers in total dead seriousness about the 3-touch rule. That if a girl touches you 3 times, and she might, do it as she's talking, like she'll say something like, oh, that's funny, and she sort of hits your knee, and then you're talking for another second, and she's like, shut up, and then she slaps your shoulder, and then one more time she's like, oh my gosh, I love that kind of beer too, and hits your leg one more time. That's the 3-touch rule. She's now touched you 3 times. She
needs to back off.
She's flirting.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Same with guys. Do guys have this three touch, or is it mostly women that do it?
I think it's women. I think that there's a 3-touch rule with women touching men. I don't think men touch women. I mean, I've certainly had it happen. I've had a guy put his arm around me, and the hand is just slightly too low. Yeah. It's not on my butt, but it's just resting above my butt, and I'm like, this is not okay. But I think as a general rule, men know that it could make a woman feel uncomfortable. So the majority of men do not in any way touch women or hit them or give the little taps, what have you, because they, it can be very dicey touching women.
So how would you know if a guy was into you and hitting on you?
I think I've always called it FaceTime. I think when you look into a guy's eyes and there's this sort of, it's just past a certain amount of time. I'm trying to think, to tell people what I think that amount of time would be. Like, it's like past 5 seconds and you continue looking into each other's eyes. I call it FaceTime. Like the person gave you FaceTime. I think that's, a way that a guy flirts. He just looks you directly in the eyes and holds the gaze for longer than someone who's just randomly looking.
Yeah, or buys you a drink or something. Yeah, makes some sort of comment.
Although, not necessarily buy a drink. In fairness, to go back to what I said about talking to everyone at the bar, and if I'm, say, waiting for my husband at the bar, it's great. I can be at the bar 20 minutes early. I can talk to everyone. I feel included. Where I was talking to this guy at the bar the other day, and he actually said to me, "Oh, are you okay? I'm not making you uncomfortable." And he had his wedding ring on and said his wife was at a book club. And he said, when she does her book club every, once a month, he said, I go out and it kind of stinks because he said, I like to sit at the bar and I'd like to talk to people. But he said, if I'm at the bar and I talk to any woman, it doesn't matter what I say, even if I keep my body on my seat, I'm not leaning towards them in any way, I'm not touching them in any way, they think I'm flirting. They think I'm trying to pick them up. And I'm like, that sucks.
Yeah.
Because it's fun to go sit at a bar. What about you're traveling for work? You go to a bar, you don't want to necessarily sit at a seat by yourself. You should be able to have a comment with someone at the bar without them thinking that you're hitting on them.
I know, true. Yeah, I agree, yeah. So what else are we going to talk about today? Anything? We good?
Sharon, there are always
there's so much.
There's so many
there's
things
always
that
stuff.
we can talk about.
There's always stuff.
So we just went to a new place last night that opened called Lefty's Oyster Bar.
Oh, I saw that. How was it?
It was great, and I was very happy that unlike Ocean Prime that sells a glass of white wine for $22.
I know.
Lefty sells a glass of wine for $9 and the bottle for $39. So
there you go. Perfect.
Much better. It's just, I get it. These restaurants are trying to make money and, you have choices. It's definitely true. You can choose to go somewhere. Well, if you're not working, you can choose to go somewhere where it's happy hour, where you get a deal.
Right, yeah.
But that's ridiculous. That's a huge difference in price. $22 for a 6-ounce pour versus $10.
But they don't have happy hour. I mean, it's the highest end new restaurant, right?
It is. But they pimped this place out. They did a great job. The outside is gorgeous. They clearly spent a lot of money doing the landscaping. They have 4 tables that have fire pits in them. Lots of TVs for watching football or basketball. I mean, March Madness is coming up. Do you watch any?
March Madness? The Super Bowl is coming up.
Do you watch any March Madness?
No, I don't watch college basketball.
You don't do a...
no, I don't. No.
You don't enter a pool or fill out a...
No.
Oh, really? Mm-mm. I always do. I mean, I never get it right, but I think it's fun for March Madness to fill out.
That'd be fun. I mean, I would do it, but no, we've never... it's funny, living in Maine, and you just don't... College basketball, college football, it's just not a thing up there, really. I mean, we watched all the NBA, like Celtics and, Patriots. And we were
Yeah,
big
I'm not a
England
huge
fans.
basketball fan. I won't watch it in season, but I think March Madness is so fun because there is always a major upset, some little Cinderella story where a team that was never supposed to make the tournament, goes all the way up in the tournament. It's fun. It's exciting.
I probably would like it. I should tune in and watch it.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. Eagles fans would hate me saying this because I'm from Philadelphia, so clearly I'd like the Eagles to win in the Super Bowl. I mean, Mahomes is unbelievable. He's one of the best athletes in the world. He will be recognized after he dies as one of the best athletes to have ever lived. He's now won, 3 Super Bowls, 2 in a row, but 3 total. So this would be a three-peat. I hope the game is close. I admit I don't want to blow out. I don't want to blow out. Yeah. I don't think blowouts are fun to watch.
Well, this is a rematch, right? Did they play it last year? Same two teams? I think so. I think it's a rematch this year. I don't know if it's from last year, but I know it's a rematch. They've met each other before.
They have met each other before, and that's really sad that I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
I know Kansas City won last year, and I just can't remember.
The Eagles have, it's been.
I can't remember. No, the Eagles didn't make it last year, so it wasn't the Eagles.
Okay, so it must have been another year because I know it was a rematch.
But so I'd like it to be close for sure. I think it'd be fun. I'm looking forward to go to a party and bet on some squares.
Which apparently might be at my house because Booker was just asking me to volunteer my house for the Super Bowl. So sorry, honey. I think I might have said okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what do you guys think?
I don't know.
Is that appropriate to go over to someone's house and then start suggesting how great it would be if they have a party?
Right, and it's only the second time I've met him, so.
And that's a lot of pressure a Super Bowl party is. Although you can ask people to bring something.
Stuff. No, it's fun.
You ask everybody to bring an appetizer and a bottle of booze and then you end up and have all paper plates and paper forks and knives and napkins, and it ends up not being that much work for sure.
I have to say that was a fun interview. Booker was great. So
that was a fun interview, and you should definitely tune in to listen to what we talked about with Booker. He's fun, and we're going to continue to do that. We are all about empowering women, no matter how old you are, to share your story, to feel represented, to laugh, to feel like you're part of a group. And, just feel that you can be part of something bigger, but we also want to have men on the show who can give us insight into a male's perspective on something that only a male could have. I mean, we don't know the answers to the questions that we want to ask.
No, and it was so great that he was willing to be so honest, and it was funny. It was really great.
But don't you think that that's what you and I are trying to do with
authentic,
with talking to our friends? And I like to think that I do it all the time, not just when I'm on the podcast. I mean, I've had friends over the years say, "Oh, if you want to know what your baby looks like, ask Lauren. She'll be honest." And I'm kind of like, that's not so fair. I mean, if you, Sharon, suddenly showed up with a pixie haircut and I didn't like it, I'm not going to say, "Oh, that looks horrible. It looked so much better longer." Yeah. But I think it's okay to have honest conversations with your friends about things and be truthful and live your truth. I don't think that makes you a bad person or means that you're mean. I think at the end of the day, people appreciate that. And it has been hard for me because sometimes, or dare I say a lot of times, women ask you your opinion on something and they really don't want your opinion. They want you to tell them what they want to hear. Right. And that's really hard.
Well, I think it depends on who it is. Like if I asked you, I would want your honest feedback, right? But I might ask somebody else who's not important to me and not want to hear their honest feedback, right? So I think it depends on what your relationship is with the person you're asking. So I really do, because I have some really close girlfriends who I can be brutally honest with, and they can be brutally honest back. And I think I can take it. They, you know what I mean? Like I think we have that understanding and that trust. That's what it boils down to. But maybe with somebody else that I don't know quite so well, I'll just give them a compliment to be kind. So
I don't know if you noticed, I do not have my Invisalign in, which I just started because I was worried that I might lisp.
I didn't notice.
It is funny having them in, and that's just, I guess, part of being vain. I'm going to have to wear them for, 10 months, and you take them out when you eat. I'm just going for it. I asked a girlfriend of mine, and she drinks white wine as well, and she just drinks white wine with them in. I mean, you change them every 2 weeks, so you're brushing them at night. I think the concern is that, stuff has sugar in it, so you don't want the sugar just sitting against your teeth. But I think it's okay to drink white wine, and I mean, I do want my teeth to be perfect, so it's worth it for me
I think
to
you'll
wear
be fine.
them.
Yeah, you'll be okay. So just for those of you who want to be part of our Hang Squad, we have a happy hour coming up on February 6th, and for those that live in Sarasota or in the area, we would love to invite you to join us. It's going to be at Arts and Central from 5 to 7 p.m., and that is on, what street is that on? Do you know? Central Street.
Arts and Central, Boulevard of the Arts.
And the corner of
Central.
So.
And it's a great restaurant. It actually has a fire pit outside. Part of the bar is outside. It's really fun, and we think...
And it's open to couples.
It's open to anyone.
Anybody that wants to come.
The more, the merrier. I mean, we're just trying to get people together, hang out, talk about stuff.
Yeah, give us some ideas for the podcast, and if you want to be a guest, let us know, because we're always looking for new people to chat with and learn about.
Yes, we love to have guests. We love to hear what our friends have to say. It is kind of interesting, Sharon, because I've noticed that with doing this, that sometimes, of lately, I have someone pull me aside and they sort of tell me something off the cusp, like some, information, something that they would talk about or we should talk about, which is kind of interesting. And I think it's interesting and it's good. And I just hope, we move towards a direction where everyone feels that they can just share things. And certainly if it helps you feel better, I mean, feeling good about yourself is important, and not being lonely is important, and feeling like you matter is important. And
I had that happen today, not to interrupt you, but a friend of ours called me today and said, I have a great idea for your podcast. She goes, talk about period panties. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, doesn't every woman have period panties? Like, she goes, I have the really nice panties that I wear when I'm not having my period, but then I have those ugly, like mom briefs that are period panties. Have you ever heard of such a thing? Do you have period panties?
I have heard such a thing. Since I am full-blown menopause without a uterus, I no longer have a period. But that is why I never knew when I was getting mine. So for years, I never, ever wore white. And in fact, one of my bridesmaids just reminded me, she's reached out to me and said, hey, you guys talked on your podcast about you wearing the onesie where you have to get naked in the stall. And she said, do you remember your wedding? You kind of felt something. And she said, we quickly went in the stall, and she said, you weren't shy. You whipped that dress off, so fast, and you weren't wearing, I had no bra on, no panties on underneath my wedding dress.
Yeah.
And she said, we, tamponed you up and off you went. And my dress was saved, but that could have been a huge
that would have been awful
disaster, because back then you didn't change your outfit, you just had your dress. So I guess I would have had to go back to the hotel. I don't even know what I would have done.
I know. So that's a shout out to my friend. I mentioned period panties for her on our podcast.
And this is where every guy is just
they're just
throwing up in their mouth.
Exactly.
I wanted to bring up
There's a thing.
panty lines. Talk about being honest and truthful. I would tell my friend. And when I see a woman out with panty lines, I think that they didn't have a friend to tell them that they have panty lines. I mean, look, maybe I'm wrong. Correct me. Maybe some people, it doesn't bother them. I do not like to have panty lines, so much so that when we were just in Greece this summer on a great vacation with our 3 kids, and believe it or not, the first like solo family vacation we've done with the three of them, with no other family, just the five of us. Which is pretty cool. That's the first solo family of five vacation, because they're expensive. It's really expensive to go away with five. But I hate panty lines so much so that I had a bathing suit on underneath these pants with a sweatshirt over it because it was a little bit cool. We had walked off the beach, and I actually took my sweatshirt off and wrapped it around my waist. And my husband said, "Oh my God." And I was cold. He said, "You're doing that so people know you have a bathing suit on, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "You're doing that because you have like panty lines from the bathing suit." And I said, "Yes. I wanted people to realize I had a bathing suit on." And that was why I had a line on my pants and not because I had panty lines.
Interesting. Yeah. What does that go back to? Childhood?
I just don't like the way it looks.
Yeah.
I think it looks...
Well, isn't that why they made Spanx and thongs and Skims and all that?
Probably I equate it to... And I mean, I'm not a spring chicken. I'm 53. I think I equate it to someone being older. Thinking of an older woman who's like in her late 70s, 80s, and, out with her husband, and, her husband's not going to say anything, and they have panty lines. So I think... straight up, I equate it with someone being old who doesn't care and the husband doesn't care enough to tell her.
Okay, so we solve the panty line problem by either don't wear panties.
Yeah, don't wear them.
Or get some Skims or some Spanx or
you don't really need them.
Whatever.
You wash your stuff all the time. I do not wear underwear under my spandex when I work out. I mean, anything that touches my body, I wash right away.
Right.
So I don't need underwear underneath my
So now people at the gym have a great visual.
Right.
They'll be like, "Ooh, Lauren's not wearing any."
Well, and let's take it a step further. If we're talking about panty lines, what about camel toe?
I was just telling her, I just found out what this was. I know it's crazy. I'm 58 years old. Did not know what camel toe was.
That is like mind.
I know. I just found this out like a year ago. I honestly didn't.
How about moose knuckle?
No, absolutely not. So somebody was talking about it. I literally had to say to Scott, "Okay, what is camel toe?" Like, I'm so naive. So now I know.
Gabby and I have the universal sign. Like, he always knew if I ever left the house and there was a situation, he just holds up his two fingers bent over to make a camel toe so that I would know, so that I change.
So how do we solve camel toe? That's what I want to know. Is there a thing you can put in to
camel toe
help that?
Can extremely easily be avoided by not wearing stretch pants that have a seam right in the crotch area or being pulled up too high. That definitely causes camel toe. Also, to be blunt, as I always am, it would depend on your vagina. Probably an extremely youthful vagina might not have as much labia present that would make camel toe more obvious with certain pants.
Yeah. Right. I know. I was wearing something one day and Scott's like, "No, you got to go change. You have camel toe." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Okay.
So funny.
He's like,
although I do believe, now that I'm thinking about it, that in fashion, we're going to have to Google it, somebody created pants that were like camel toe pants. You specifically wore them with a pre-built in camel toe. And I thought, no, I'm going to have a hard, emphatic no on that. Camel toe is not like hard nipples.
No.
Hard nipples are hot, sexy. It's it's natural. Hard nipples are natural. Camel toe is not.
No, you don't want to put that on display. You do not want that showing. If you
we're humans. We're not camels. So camel toe should not be present in the vaginal area.
On that note. On that note, this has been another episode of Joy of the Hang. And so we are really, really happy that you hung with us through all of that.
Because we really want you to continue to hang with us.
Because we really let it all hang out on this episode.
We let it all hang out. We can't wait for people to start giving us feedback, telling us what they want to hear, and interacting with us. Because we want to interact with everyone.
100%. And please share the episode if you liked what you heard and leave us a review. And you can find us on Spotify, Spotify. You can now find us on, well, not this episode, it won't be on YouTube, but you can find us on Apple Music and iHeartRadio and any place that you listen to podcasts. Yeah, so we're really excited to have you with us and look forward to next time. Peace out, my friends.
Next time. Peace out.
Peace out.